Hello and thank you for checking out my video. My name is Darragh Rogan. I've recently moved back to my native Dublin after spending 3 years in Helsinki, Finland, and I wanted to share some of my experiences from making use of electric scooters all through the summer of 2019 in Helsinki, and if there are any kind of ideas or recommendations based on my personal experience in Helsinki. So just for absolute transparency, I've no skin in the game. I'm not representing any potential or current scooter companies. I just have quite a deep interest and enthusiasm for this topic. So what are the challenges that I've seen with electric scooters here in Helsinki? The main ones for me are the simple ones like parking. Where do people park their scooters when they're not in use? And as you can see, Helsinki, they set themselves up with proper bicycle and electric scooter parking setups, just to facilitate people dropping off their scooter and walking about their business.
Before we go too far, let's give an example of how to rent one of these commercial for hire scooters. And here I'm just showing an example of one of the companies that's available in Helsinki. To rent the scooter, you have to use their app, which is available in the App Store. And when you come across a scooter, you find it on the map and you scan a QR code on the scooter itself, and it uses Bluetooth between your phone and the scooter to unlock it and rent it out to you. Now they have this thing where you must pay €1 to park if you want to park it randomly. However, they have these things called hoop stops located around the city, which offer a reduced parking fee. So it must be some way to incentivize people to park in one easy location for them to recharge and also to reduce street clutter. So keep an eye out for them.
So here we are parking at the bottom of my street, and as you can see, there's a proper parking zone assigned. So it's probably taking about 2 car parking spaces, I'd estimate. But it's very well used. Usually in the mornings when I walk past here, there are many scooters parked up, and obviously this evening you can see by the success I'm the only one that's parked here now. And of course people get a discount if they park here. The other very helpful element is they have good infrastructure for scooters to go on throughout the city so that pedestrians aren't raised down. Now obviously all of this takes space, and Helsinki has obviously made the conscious decision that it's going to dedicate a lot of space for having bicycle parking on its pavements. It's going to have wide pavements, it's going to have cycle lanes, and it does that at the expense of space for motor vehicles.
So once we've got the basics of parking and space to ride the scooter sorted out, what next? How do we keep the scooter riders and other road or even footpath users, pedestrians, safe? From reading Finnish media about injuries in Helsinki, we can see that the main injuries people suffer are head injuries, with teeth and things like that when they fall off the scooters. And then you have things like broken limbs, broken bones when they actually fall and hit the ground. But it appears that most of the issues are not from crashing into people. It's more that scooter users themselves hurt themselves when they go down a curb or something like that. And I have personal experience of this. So how can we mitigate these risks and deal with them thereafter?
So here I am scooting along at a nice speed, and then suddenly it just drops its speed to basically a walking pace. Now this is a nice little route, but as you can see it's full of gravel, so my supposition is that TIER, the provider of this particular e-scooter, they have marked using the GPS on my phone that this route is accident prone, and maybe as a risk mitigation they ought to slow people down around here. And I raise this topic because maybe there are lessons that Ireland can learn from this experience in maybe riskier areas where there might be a risk of a collision between an electric scooter user and a pedestrian. Perhaps through agreement with the local councils, certain areas can be designated low speed areas like this. It's also possible to use techniques such as speed limiting. So for example, in Helsinki, all of these scooters are limited to a top speed of around 20 kilometers an hour. And another good risk mitigation I've seen applied on some of these e-scooters here in Helsinki is they come with traction control built in, so if there's any sort of loss of traction, it backs off on the power. Given Ireland's predominantly wet climate, roads are liable to be slippy, maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea to mandate that some sort of protections against loss of traction be programmed in electronically.
We also have to bear in mind we can invent all the rules we want in order to prevent risk of collision. We can provide mitigations, anti-lock brakes, all that good stuff. But there will be individuals that will attract risk by, for example, scooting on pavements. We see this right now with a small number of cyclists cycling on pavements, or indeed we see it with motorists perhaps breaking orange lights. Rules will be broken by individuals, and good enforcement of sensible rules such as don't scoot on a pavement is a good one, and methods such as on-the-spot fines should be considered. Like, for example, these 4 individuals in Helsinki that were slapped with €40 on-the-spot fines for riding e-scooters on the pavement. But we also have to be realistic about the actual risk that's been incurred.
If you consider the weight of the rider of the scooter plus any backpack they might have and the scooter itself, that times their velocity squared, you come up with an impact force that would bear on any kind of pedestrian in an impact. Consider the likely weight of a conventional iron bicycle and the same rider and the same backpack. You've much the same potential energy in an impact with someone on a conventional bicycle compared to someone on a scooter. So we have to ask ourselves, if we're happy with that, why not be happy with a scooter? So my number 1 recommendation in considering the adoption of these electric personal transport in Ireland is keep them easy, keep them fun. If we keep it easy, if we keep it fun, people will use them, and that means that they won't use private motor vehicles, they won't use taxis, which all pollute, they won't put extra load on bursting at the seams public transport. If it's easy enough that you can just hop onto one of these things without a moment's concern, then that's a big win. And there are sensible mitigations, like we've gone through in this video, to prevent, risk of people crashing and things like that. So if we focus on those types of solutions, we can very successfully integrate electric-powered vehicles into our towns and cities. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.